Hello, my name is Yanina Nava and I'm one of the closing assistants here at OFN, and today we'll be going over our process and procedure form that will be needed in our Texas as well as all of our out-of-state transactions. When we first get a contract or when we get a phone call about a new transaction, we usually send out our introductory email along with our process and procedure form and wiring instructions. Now, we get asked a lot why this form needs to be filled out if a lot of the documentation that is being submitted has the information that is on this form. And again, this form is what we use. This is what we go off of to start the process of the transaction. We do understand that our process and procedure form could be a little intimidating. If at any point you have any questions or are unsure of what part of the process and procedure forms to fill out, you could always give us a call and we could guide you through it. Just how we encourage you not to piecemeal when sending us in all of the documentation needed for closing, we ask that you please not piecemeal the process and procedure form as well. Sometimes we're only getting the buyers and sellers info and not any information regarding the underlying lien transaction or what type of transaction it is that you are doing. So please, one process and procedure form completely filled out so we can go ahead and help you with your transaction. On our first page of the process and procedure forms, we go over a couple of the services that we provide at Horne Associates. Now, at the very bottom, you will see a part that says a submission fee. Now, that is a fee that we do require to be submitted with the earnest money. The submission fee has to be submitted with the earnest money and it will be credited at closing. Now, if you look on the second page, it lets you know how you can submit the submission fee. You can send it in through wire, which we do provide wiring instructions when we send the introductory email, or you could go online and pay the submission fee through there. If you are going to make the payment online, please note that there is a 3% servicing charge that the online platform charges. Right below the earnest money and the submission fee on the second page of the process and procedure form, you'll notice that we have our closing times listed there. Now, we can close a loan 10 to 15 days from the day that we receive a full complete file. Now, I really want to stress that it's from when we receive a full complete file. We do get a lot of piecemealing, which does hold up our closings, and if the fuller the package that we get in the beginning, the better that it is that we have all the information, especially if we have a fully filled out process and procedure form. Right below our closing times on the second page of the process and procedure form, you'll notice that we do have rush fees for any file that does need a rush. Now, we will advise you if we are not accepting rushes at the time, but it'll be on a case-by-case basis. On the third page of our process and procedure form, we have a document checklist, which gives you a list of all of the documents that we require for submission. So anytime that we get a new email, a new submission, people always ask us, what do I need to close? On the third page, it lists every single document. Now, there are some documents that will not apply to your specific transaction. We ask that you just go through the list, get with your sellers and with your buyers, and go over all of the information and see which applies to this specific transaction and send us copies of the documents. On page 4, 5, 6, and 7, this is where we ask for personal information. We have the seller's information first and then the buyer's information. Now, this information is really important that you guys fill out because it gives us who the people, the parties in the transaction are. So it asks for all of the seller's information, their full legal name. Now, the reason why we ask for the full legal name is when we order title, we want to make sure that we have the correct person. Forwarding addresses are going to be really important because at the end of the transaction, we need a mailing address on where we can send executed documents to. Cell phone numbers and emails are also really important because if at any point we need to contact the seller to get any information, we would like to have the information on our process and procedure form. There is a portion on the seller's information sheet that asks for date of birth and social security numbers. Now, you see in bold letters that if the seller feels more comfortable calling in and giving us the information verbally as opposed to writing it on the document, we will accept it. We do require this information just to verify that when we do pull title, we can go ahead and take care of anything that comes up and we can verify if it's our sellers or not. On the bottom part of the seller's information form, this information does need to be filled out. A lot of the times we do see it blank, but we do need to know if the seller's married. We do need to know the spouse's name because there are some documents that they will need to sign at closing. We need to know how the seller is holding title and if it's in an LLC, a corporation, different entity, because we will need additional information if that is the case. So please, when you're filling out the seller's information and the buyer's information, you fill it out fully and completely. Now, on page 5, you will see here that we're asking if there's any realtors or if there's any agents involved. If there are, we do ask that you provide us with the information and then also the commission. Now, we always ask the realtors or any agents involved for their CDA for closing, so we make sure that all of the fees are done correctly on the closing statement. But if you can get us the information ahead of time, we would greatly appreciate it. Now, page 6 is the buyer's information. Again, this is going to be important that we get the full legal name of the buyer, the address, cell phone numbers and email addresses, and then also if they're married and if they're buying the property together with their spouse, if they're buying it in an LLC, in a different entity. We need to know the names of the officers if they are buying it in an LLC and what their titles are. Once we find out if they're purchasing the property in an LLC, that's when we'll require LLC documents so we can see how to properly prepare the documents for closing. Now, again, we do ask if there's any agent information, that we do have it filled out completely on the bottom part of the buyer's information sheet. Okay, on page 7, we have the loan information sheet, which gives us the type of transaction that we'll be helping you with. If you go 1 through 3 and you check off the type of transaction that you will be working on, it'll tell you which page to go to. For example, if you are doing a sub-2 transaction or if you are doing a wrap mortgage, then you will fill out page 8, which gives us the information of the underlying lien loan. Now, this is really important because it gives us the details of the underlying lien loan that is being wrapped, and it allows us to go ahead and get the information that we need to send out our pre-closing disclosures. So we do ask that you fill out this information to the best of your knowledge. Now, some of the information or some of the documents that we do request on page 3 are supporting documents to the information that you will be providing to us on page 8 and page 9. So if you are doing an owner finance with no underlying lien, then that's when you would go to page 9. And this is where you would give us your terms of your loan that you are now giving to your new buyers. Again, this information allows us to prepare our pre-closing disclosures, and it gives us the information that we need ahead of time. What we've been seeing a lot of lately is investors coming to closing with a private money lender. Now, that means that they're purchasing a property sub-2, but instead of them themselves coming in with the down payment, they are getting a private money loan to be able to pay the cash to close. Now, if that is the case and you know that you are getting a private money lender at closing, we do ask that you fill out page 10 and 11. This allows us to have the information ahead of time of the loan that we will be preparing. Now, a lot of the times, the private money loans that our investors are getting are going to be second or third liens, and we do need the information ahead of time. The last thing that we want is for you to be, docs are out, ready to go, and you tell us last minute that there's going to be a private money loan and we need to prepare a note and deed of trust, because all that's going to do is hold up your closing date. On page 12, we have some additional information that we'll need to be able to process and prepare documents for your wrap and sub-2 transactions, like when the first payment is going to be due on the new note, if there's going to be any escrows or any reserves collected. Now, one of the things that I do want to bring your attention to is where it says what type of title work is being requested. Now, it says title search, abstract, or title insurance. The reason why this is important is because this will determine the time frame of your loan. Now, if it is an FHA or VA loan, title insurance cannot be issued. So title search or abstract of title will be your choices. Now, if you do want the title policy, let's say the sub-2 transaction that you are purchasing is a conventional loan and you do want title insurance, we will need to know ahead of time. So when we order title, we order it correctly. Letting us know what type of title work ahead of time is really important and could really help your file go through a lot smoother. Now, the last part of page 12 are any third-party fees that need to be collected. We are seeing a lot of our transactions being closed remotely, and a mobile notary may be needed. If you know that you are going to be closing remotely and you may hire a mobile notary, please let us know. Even if the fees are estimated and once you get an invoice, we can put the correct amount on the closing statement. But if you let us know the fees ahead of time, we can include them, so then that way we can give you a better estimate of the cash to close. Now, if there are any assignment fees, if there are any broker fees, any processing fees, lender's fees, we do ask that you please fill this portion of the document out. Lastly, on page 13, we go over our closing and funding portion of the process and procedure form, which just gives you the contact information for closing. Now, again, it does reference that if there is a mobile notary that's needed and you do have their contact information, you could fill it out ahead of time so we know who to send the closing documents to for the closing. We hope that this video serves as a guide to help you properly fill out our process and procedure form. And if you are in Texas, we look forward to closing your next transaction here at Horne Associates. And if you're located in any other state, we look forward to helping you close with OFN National Escrow Services.